when you're watching Thor the Dark World. Yeah, guys, listen. This movie, where do I even begin? Okay. Let's start off with the positives. Stanley cameo was pretty funny, I thought. I really liked the part where he came in. It was when Dr. Selvig was kind of talking about the convergence, and they had that nice little interaction between them where he was like, "Can I have my shoe back?" I thought that was a funny interaction, that like old folks home kind of, but like it's like a mental institution sort of. I don't know. I just thought it was funny that that's how they brought him in. That was a good line. Anyways, I think that there were a lot of ideas in this movie that were really good. I think they did nice with some of the ideas and concepts that they introduced. I thought that the Nine Realm War was an interesting idea. I thought, you know, I thought. Listen, I'll be real here. There were so many. That if there was anything that was holding this movie back, it was that there were too many ideas, too many concepts. There's too much going on for it to be like one concise and really good story being told here. Like I like the Nine Realms at War. I feel like that is a whole movie all on its own. The convergence and Earth and Jane and the ether, like they're mixing everything all into one, and that's why it doesn't feel as complete, or it doesn't feel like totally perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like it's juggling all of these different things into one movie, and it just feels like it's too much. Not to mention the dark elves and the other worlds, and it just feels like it becomes a mixed bag that just kind of like goes up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and it just makes it feel like, what story are they trying to tell here? What are they really trying to get me to understand or think about? Like, what is the overall theme of this movie? What am I supposed to take away from this, you know? And it didn't feel in any way, shape, or form like it was a complete story. It felt like there was so much going on that you have to, like, I don't know. At one point, it's like, it's a romance story, and it's like Lady Sif is jealous of Jane, but then later on, it's like his mom Frigga dies. Like, what? She dies, and then it's like a funeral, and then it's sad, and then it's a revenge story, and then it's about the Infinity Stone. It's about the ether. It's about stopping Malekith. It's about committing treason. It has so many bits and pieces in it that it feels a little bit too much of so many things. I felt like they were trying to like shove everything in our face, but they don't give us enough of one. Like last time I said in the first Thor movie, we don't spend enough time on Asgard. And that was very true. And in this movie, we spend time in Asgard, but it's not out and about. It's like down in the dungeons. It's in the palace. It's not seeing the people of Asgard. It's not helping the people of Asgard. It's literally just like, it doesn't feel like, how am I supposed to connect with the people? How am I supposed to appreciate Asgard when we don't get to be around it as much, you know? I think the supporting characters, Lady Sif and the Warriors 3, they do a pretty good job, you know? They demonstrate like people who care about Thor, people who care about Asgard, people who are willing to work and cooperate with with Thor and with the king and with everybody, you know? I also felt like the the actors in this movie, their performances were a bit stale, and that goes for everybody. Everybody's acting performance in this movie was a bit, just like in the first Thor movie, they went from 0 to 100. It didn't feel like what's the right word? It didn't feel like a natural progression or like a steady incline. It felt like just doing things for the sake of doing things. Does that make sense? It didn't make sense for things to end up the way that they ended up. You know what I mean? I hope that makes sense. There was a moment where Frigg, who is Thor's mom and Loki's mom, visits Loki in prison, all right? Now, he was supposed to be, like, in the dungeon. He's supposed to be, like, in the secluded dungeon where he's not supposed to have any interaction with anybody. But then there's Frigg talking to Loki, like the mom that she is, and then Loki goes like, "He's not my father." And I was like, "Oh boy, this is gonna be a long thing." Like, I kind of wanted it a little bit deeper, you know. I didn't want it to be so explosive or so loud, but I get the aggression of it, and I think it's good. I just don't know if it's like, I just want it to be like a natural walk up the hill, you know what I mean? Like, it's building. Instead, it went from slow, calm, and then boom, you know, that big power of aggression. But anyways, first of all, they have to introduce the bad guys, right? And it's a part of this ancient war between Asgard and the Dark Elves. And then they have to introduce the Ether. And then they have to introduce Asgard. What is Thor doing? And I felt like what Thor was doing throughout his beginning sequence with fighting the Nine Realms and like what they were doing in Vanaheim, I felt like that was really cool. That was something that I kind of enjoyed. It was a little bit too quick. We don't get to like really see like what caused the Nine Realms to really get into chaos. It was Loki. Well, then it has to tie into the Avengers. Like it feels like there was so much story there just in that one. Like the Nine Realms at war, and Asgard has to be at the center of it and try to fight and protect people in Vanaheim and the other realms like Svartalfheim and maybe Jotunheim, maybe not. I mean, it's kind of like in this one, it's kind of like this winter wasteland, so probably not Jotunheim, but that could also be a possibility. You know what I mean? There's also there are so many possibilities with the Nine Realms to like explore and see what else is out there. You know what I mean? And that's just for those realms, you know what I'm saying? And for us to go back and forth between Asgard to kind of see how Odin keeps track of everything. They show him with like his like signature crow, but they don't like they show him with the signature crow, but they don't show like him using any of it. Like they give us like a little bit of the mythology or like the story, you know, the folklore behind it, but they don't actually, what's the right word? They don't show it in the right way. Like they don't show it. It's like just a small little teaser. They don't give us like a full meal. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So that's what's so disappointing is that they have a lot of great ideas, and if they focus the story on one thing, it would be cool. But because they make it so many things all into one, it becomes a big mess. It becomes like, well, what are we supposed to focus on? And they go back and forth and in between so many different things. It's just like, it's unbearable how mixed and messed up it all is, you know? But really quickly, I want to talk about Malekith. Malekith is, as a dark elf, listen, I think the actor who plays Malekith, I don't know his name, or but I definitely think that that actor did that role to the best of their ability. Like, let me. The actors in this movie are not bad. They play their characters, but the dialogue, the situation, the story that they're given is not beneficial to them. It's hard for them to carry when they're given this story. Like, put it this way, I feel like Chris Hemsworth as Thor, he does good. Like, he's a good Thor. Like, he's playing the character as he would. But the problem is that when he's put into these different situations, or like the story forces him to like act in this way, it's like he has to be of service to the scene or to the movie by being the character in that moment. And that character would be emotional. It would be a little bit, like this. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, and then there were some moments where I felt like the acting, the actors specifically, maybe weren't as interested, or they were just not doing their job as well as I would have expected or thought they would, You know what I mean? There is a scene between, I think it's Thor and Odin. It was like, I wanted to see Anthony Hopkins give us like a really emotional moment. Like, his wife has just died. The dark elves are still alive, even though he said that his father extinguished them all. And he's like making irrational decisions, or like not focusing clearly on the right choices to make. And I'm just sitting there like, I want an emotional moment, He doesn't really even cry, which I thought that was a bit of a waste. I thought that if anything would make him cry or more in pain, it would be the fact that his wife has been murdered. I thought that would have been a big one. I thought that he would be more reasonable when it came to bringing Jane to Asgard to help her, because Thor saw that she was sick from the ether, right? Like, there were so many, like, this is what I'm trying to say, is there's too much in this movie. Like, Jane and the ether, the Infinity Stones, like, and the Dark Elves, that is like a whole nother story. That's a whole nother, it feels like that by itself is a strong and powerful story that it couldn't be in this movie. It should have been, in my opinion, I think they should have focused on the 9 realms and on Asgard being secure, like helping other people, seeing Asgard, helping Asgard, like them being the good guys and trying to break real peace between the 9 realms, help the 9 realms out. Instead, it becomes less about Asgard, or I guess about the 9 realms, and it becomes about how do we get revenge? How do we get vengeance upon this evil guy doing evil things because he's evil? Like, I don't want that to be the story. Like, I don't want that to be their motivations for it. I think it's personal, obviously, because Thor's mom got killed by the Dark Elves, by Malekith. I think that's personal motivation. I understand it, but I really would have liked to have seen more of Asgard and a lot less of Earth. Like, they keep on doing this back and forth, this split thing between going to Earth and then going to Asgard. It's like, can we focus on one spot? Like, it doesn't have to always be one or the other, But then you introduce the 9 realms to it, then you introduce the Dark Elves into it, and then you have to like bring in all of these different pieces so that way it fits into this one line, and it doesn't it doesn't work. It feels like a big hot mess. Un un it's unbelievably overdone. Like, have you ever had like this is a good, I think, a good analogy. It's like, have you ever mixed two flavors together that like overpower each other, or they're like you either taste one flavor or the other? You know what I mean? Like I remember I tried like making like a cinnamon chocolate cake or something, or like cinnamon chocolate muffin or whatever, right? I tried to make it and I thought, I like cinnamon and I like chocolate. Let's mix them both together and see how it tastes, you know? Now, I tried it and I ate it, and then I realized like I either taste the chocolate or I taste the cinnamon. Like, I couldn't enjoy the pairing because they were both such strong flavors. It didn't feel like I could really enjoy one over the other. Like, it wasn't a good mix. But then you put cinnamon and vanilla together, and vanilla is a lot more bland. You know what I mean? It's a lot more just like a base flavor. And then the cinnamon accentuates it and it makes it taste a lot better. It's like, wow, you know, I can really taste the cinnamon flavor. It tastes really good. Or like put like on a ice cream, like vanilla ice cream, and you put like chocolate hot fudge on top of it. Like the chocolate and the vanilla mix well together. Like they are a good pairing, you know, because it's like that. But when it's just two multiple flavors all at once, it's like, what can you really taste? You know, where's the real flavor? Does it all combine well? And this one does not combine well at all. The story is all over the place. It goes from fighting to protect the Nine Realms. He fights for Vanaheim and he wins in like 2 minutes, and we don't even get to figure out like, okay, well, we didn't go any deeper into it. Then the Dark Elves show up. Then the ether attaches itself to Jane. Then Thor goes to Earth because Jane wasn't being seen by Heimdall. Heimdall is now like, what's going on? Why can't we see her? Thor visits her and she comes back, and now it's like, where were you? Why couldn't I see you? What's going on here? They reconnect, they get back together, so to speak, or like whatever they were doing, I guess. I don't know, dude. It was just a little too much. Then they take Jane to Asgard, and then Odin doesn't want Jane in Asgard, and then Malekith comes to Asgard looking for the ether, because once Jane connected with the ether, they were able to come back, and then they fight on Asgard, and then they kill Frigga. And then Thor's like, all right, let's get vengeance. Let me free Loki from the prison that he was in from when we locked him up in the Avengers. And now it's like, now they're going after Malekith, and then they're going to draw him because of Jane is attached to the ether. They're going to follow the ether, and then they're going to take the ether out of Jane's body, and then Thor is going to destroy it. And then Loki dies. And then they fight on Earth. Darcy and Eric are talking about the convergence, and they create like a tool to like mess with reality. And then Thor and Malekith fight. Thor kills Malekith. He finds a way to like get the ether trapped and contained, and then end of story. Thor comes back. Yeah. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's too much at once. It feels like the elements or the amount of story that they're trying to tell could have been two different stories, right? It could have been one story with Thor fixing the Nine Realms, okay? And then another story where it's fighting Malekith, the ether, convergence, like all of that could have been a whole separate thing. You know what I'm saying? Bringing it all together just feels a bit too much. And that way we could get deeper into the characters, and we could get more more invested in Asgard and the Nine Realms and the people. You know, I just it's annoying how much they try to cram into the story, but I did think that when the comedy landed, it landed. You know, there were some funny moments. Like I like it when Natalie Portman or Jane slaps Loki for New York. I like it when she slaps Thor because he didn't come to visit her. I like how Lady Sif and the Warriors 3 talked to Loki about if you betray Thor, I will kill you. I like I like Loki's deceptiveness. I thought he was very clever in tricking Thor and replacing Odin to be the new, like, quote unquote king of Asgard, right? I thought, I did think, oh, there was like a funny bit on the train on their way to Greenwich, right? Like, Thor gets trapped on like a subway station or whatever, on a train station, and he has to like take the train to go back to Greenwich. And I thought that was a really funny bit. And the girl, the train starts moving and she like puts her hands on Thor like, oh snap, so sorry, like to touch him. I thought that was so funny. That was like a cute little bit. Darcy and the new intern, I thought they were nice comedic relief. They do a pretty good job. Let me think. Oh, Jane and her new date. I thought that was pretty funny. That was a good little bit as well. And the fact that Thor got a little jealous was funny too. Let me see. The ringtone was funny. I liked, this is another thing, is that like the goofiness of the acting, the overtop of it is sometimes funny to me, and I like it, but I also don't like it because it's like it doesn't feel as good or as real. So when Loki died, right, and if you can't, I'm doing air quotations, when Loki died and Thor was like, "Ugh," like he was going over the top with it, and Loki was like, I didn't do it for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought it was theatrical. It was definitely over the top, very, very dramatic. And I thought that was hilarious. I thought it was so funny. But like, it's not supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, dude. It just felt like it was a fun little bit, but it wasn't supposed to be a fun little moment. It was supposed to be very serious, very dramatic, very sad. Like Loki's dead, It's like, it's heartbreaking. It's supposed to be. But again, that's an example of like the story, or putting Thor in a situation where it's like, I feel like Loki should have stayed prisoner. And when Frigga died, right, Thor should have gone to visit him to talk about, obviously, finding a way off of Asgard. I think that made sense for this story at least. But I would have just liked it if they did like another way out of Asgard without having Loki get out of prison. I didn't really see the need of that. But anyways, I there's just so much in this story. I think it was funny when when Eric Selvig was like, your brother's not coming, is he? When he's talking about Loki. And then Thor's like, he died. And then Eric Selvig's like, oh my goodness, thank goodness. He's like, I mean, I'm so sorry. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was really funny. Good comedic timing, good little bits. They add in like these little comedy punches to like keep it lighthearted and fun. But sometimes it lands, sometimes it doesn't. But I think they did a pretty good job with that in this movie. The CGI in this movie, sometimes it's like, dang, you could obviously tell that they're working in a green screen right here. And then there are other times where it looks pretty nice. I have to say, I kind of like some of the Asgardian technology. I kind of like how it's kind of like old school Viking-esque and like warrior class type of a vibe, but it's also very alien and technologically advanced. So I thought that was cool in a way that I guess the newer space movies do differently, you know? But I thought that was cool. So, Thor the Dark World is a jumbled up, like, too many ideas in one place. But overall, it's not as bad as I remember it. I remember it being a lot worse, but it's definitely not good either. So like when people go like this is the worst Marvel movie, I'm not going to argue and I'm not going to make like a defense for Thor the Dark World, but I'm definitely not going to be like, I mean, the rewatchability of it is not high. But if it were to come on, like let's just say like hypothetically speaking, I was like I had nothing else to watch and I like let's say I was going on an airplane or it was just like on TV at random, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be like, "Man, this sucks." I would just be like, "Yeah, it's Thor the Dark World, you know. I would watch it, you know." But I'd probably need to give myself some distance from it, you know, but in terms of Marvel movies, this one's all over the place and it's not really I mean, it just too much of so many different elements. It's hard to feel like what were they what could have they have gone for? You know what I mean? What there were so many other places I think they could have taken the story or could have focused the story on more, but instead they I don't know. They made it such a you know what it is? It feels like an amalgamation of like Norse mythology all mixed together, right? And then they add Earth into the mix, and then they add like Jane Foster and this romance story, and then it becomes like all of this stuff mixed into one. It just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't work all mixed together, you know? It should be one thing and focus on making that one thing really, really good. But this one was a big hot mess. And compared to the first Thor, I think this one doesn't for the life of me, I just wanted more time on Asgard to just like see the people, watch how they interact, watch how Odin works. They get Anthony Hopkins in this movie and they give him screen time, but it's not like the right screen time. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it just feels like a big waste of such great talent to me. It's a shame that I don't have more of that. You know, it's a shame that I don't get to see it at its best when the story kind of limits them, the script kind of limits them, and they do what they can with what they have. And I guess this is the final product, you know? So it's difficult. But anyways, Thor the Dark World. You know, when you're watching it, just don't think too hard. You know what I'm saying? You'll ruin. You know what I mean? You'll ruin your peace, your happiness if you completely like subject yourself to like, why does this happen? Why does this need to go on? Why are they doing this? You know what I'm saying? Once you start asking questions, you're gonna start nitpicking the hell out of this movie. And you know, I find it best to just kind of sit there and let it happen. Just watch and see what goes on, you know. But there's so much in this movie that I wish they would change. Like, I wish they would change, like, how strict Odin is for no reason. Like, what are you doing? Like, why can't Jane be here? She's not... Thor wouldn't bring her here if it wasn't, like, absolutely necessary. It's like, what are we doing? So, anyways, guys, when you're watching Thor the Dark World, just try to have fun with it, I guess. Try to take in parts of it and not really worry all that much about, you know, any consequences in this movie. because everything kind of like feels all happy and dandy by the end. But oh, I do want to talk about the mid credit scene. The mid credit scene is cool. Is our first introduction, I think, to the Collector, with them delivering the ether to him, which I thought was really really cool, and is clearly like a setup for what will be Guardians of the Galaxy. But that was really cool. I liked how they brought the Asgardian Sif and the other warrior to that Collector's place, and they introduced us to that setting. I thought that was really cool. That was a nice little showcase of like aliens, you know what I'm saying? I thought that was really nice. And then the Collector, obviously, he's interested in the Infinity Stones, and I liked how they talked about how it's not wise to keep two Infinity Stones so close together with the Tesseract and the Ether, you know? So I thought that was cool that they did that. I also think and the end credit scene was cute, you know what I mean? Nothing too crazy, but just a nice little, hey, he's coming to Earth and he's going to stay here, you know? That way it feels like that way it doesn't have to be like, how does Thor come to Earth when everything is all like, when another Avengers movie comes, it doesn't have to be like, where's Thor? Is Thor in Asgard? No, Thor's on Earth and he's working with the Avengers. Like that makes sense, you know? That way it doesn't have to be like a whole mystery about it. And then let's see, what else is there? Obviously Loki takes over for Odin, and yeah, the end of story. Again, the movie's not as bad as I remember it being. I think but I'm definitely not going to like fight to protect this movie. It's too much. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.